Are you a fantasy reader who's curious about literary fiction, but still wants that whimsy, excitement, epic journey, and character work often found in epic fantasy series? Well, you're in the right place. Let's talk about books. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today, that is exactly what I want to talk about, and it's actually the most requested video I've received so far. Literary fiction often focuses on prose, themes, and character depth over plot, but that isn't always the case, and also doesn't mean that it's slow or boring. I have 5 books for you today that keep the heart, imagination, world building, and emotional journeys while easing you into a more literary style. Each of them has something unique in common with fantasy that I think will help you transition into the genre. The very first book on my list is actually Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. And this book really is kind of both. It is literary fiction, but it is also fantasy, kind of. It really toes the line between literary fiction and fantasy. It can be read in one sitting. It's very hard to put down and not super long. And it has that whimsy and mystery, but also with an unreliable narrator. My favorite thing about Piranesi is it feels a bit like you're solving a puzzle with the main character, which can be very rewarding for fantasy readers who love that kind of sense of mystery. It has a very lyrical but accessible prose, a very small cast of intimate but real feeling characters, with themes of isolation, perception, and truth. I gave Piranesi 5 stars and have actually recently reread it and loved it just as much as I loved it the first time around. Regardless of whether you love literary fiction or fantasy or something else entirely, I think Piranesi is a book for everyone. The second book on my list is from one of my favorite literary fiction authors. My very first book of his was called The Humans, which is probably still my favorite book of his and also a really good choice. But the one that I picked for this video is How to Stop Time by Haig. This book is about immortality and the effect that immortality would have on being human. It focuses more on the emotional consequences of immortality rather than just the how of immortality or the science behind immortality. The book itself spans centuries, offering real-feeling historical settings without super dense world building. This book explores love, loss, and what it truly means to be living and the things that really matter most. It's quieter and more reflective than fantasy typically is, while still being very layered. It's another book I really love and I wish that I could read again for the first time, and think that you'll really enjoy it as well. The third book I picked is a little bit more of a darker, heavier literary fiction by another author that I have spoken about before on this channel. And I picked this one for fantasy lovers who are character first and really appreciate real feeling character work. And that book is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. It is, like I said, dark, thought-provoking, with incredible character work. Every character in this book feels like a real person, which makes those emotional moments in the book even more powerful. The community itself where Beartown takes place, Beartown, feels like a fully built, realized, breathing community. The stakes and tension rival the political intrigue that you might find in some epic fantasy. There are themes of morality, loyalty, and how people handle and change under pressure. And it has the sweeping, omniscient narration style that you may find in some epic fantasies as well. This book is also part of a series, so if you love it, you can always dive in deeper into the community and into those characters. I haven't ventured past book 1, but do plan to, so maybe it's something that we can read together. The fourth book on my list is one that I finished recently and have a short of. I have a short regarding this book on my channel. And that book is The Boulevard by Jerrod Edson. This book is historical, it's literary fiction, it's beautifully written, it's about the importance of art. It follows Satan and Ernest Hemingway in conversation on a train ride through hell to visit Vincent van Gogh. And the story is largely about Satan's banishment to hell and trying to recapture some of that beauty of heaven to bring more light into their current darkness. So it's short and is literary fiction, but does include those kind of whimsical fantasy elements as far as Satan, hell, angels, things of that nature. Super easy entry point into literary fiction as it's a very quick read, but also very heavy on meaning. It has that style and those surreal elements that might be familiar to fantasy readers. It blends historical realism with kind of symbolic overtones, and is a book that I really truly think that you will enjoy. This became a new favorite book for me, and is easily a 6-star read. And the last book that I want to talk about today is a recommendation for my fantasy lovers who love a chunky, epic fantasy journey with an incredible cast of characters. And that book is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. And you might be thinking, how is this like historical Western a good entry point or recommendation into literary fiction for a fantasy reader? And it's because it has that epic style. You're following an incredibly real feeling cast of characters on their journey across the United States to be the first to set up a cattle ranch in Montana. And I'm going to do something crazy and compare it to Lord of the Rings. You've got an incredible journey, an amazing cast of characters, and high stakes. And if that doesn't sound like an epic fantasy, I don't know what does. I read Lonesome Dove for the first time earlier this year, and it again shot to the top of my list. Each character grows over the course of the book and kind of has their own arc within the overarching arc as well. There's themes of friendship, mortality, and the cost of adventure. And it balances this epic sweeping scope with some deeply human emotional moments. And that's that. Those are my initial picks for some great literary fiction entry points for fantasy lovers. There are so many different places where you could start and endless comparisons that you can make between different literary fiction books and other fantasy books. So if you're somebody who frequently reads both literary fiction and fantasy, I would love to hear some of your recommendations in the comment section below. If you've made it through the video, I appreciate you, and I hope you'll stick around, so please like, comment, and subscribe, as it really helps the channel. We've been growing an incredible community. We have a Discord server that you can find in the link below. And if you plan on ordering any of the books that I talked about today, you can find a link to our bookshop.org shop, where your order will not only help support the channel, but also indie bookstores. As always, thank you so much for watching. Reading is a treat, and so am I. Goodbye.